If you're interested in supporting the channel, there are two things you can do. Flipside Gaming is offering a 10% discount for any order $10 or more if you use the promo code VOIDMAGE on their website. That is VOIDMAGE in all caps. I will also have an affiliate link to tcgplayer.com. If you use that link, any purchase you make on that website will go towards supporting the channel. I appreciate the support. Also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. And there's also the Commander Void Patreon page, so go ahead and check out the tiers. Hopefully I have something that works for you. Thanks for your support. Hello everyone, Commander Void here, coming back with another top 10 Commander video. I want to go over individual sets now, because most of the time when I do top 10 videos, it's something more recent, and my rankings have to do with speculation because I don't get to play with these yet, and I'll sometimes get roasted like a year or two after the fact because I had something at number 1 that I didn't get to play with yet. So going back in time at some older sets that I think were spectacular for Commander, I'm going to go over the top 10 Commander cards in Mirrodin. Mirrodin the set, not the block. Because trust me, there is a ton of support in the entire block, and I would feel like I would have to do a top 20 or even a top 30 just to get everything from Mirrodin, Darksteel, and 5th Dawn in the same video. Mirrodin is a very good set for a lot of reasons. Mirrodin gave us a ton of artifact support, so don't be surprised when you see most of the cards on the list being artifacts. In a lot of ways, the powerful artifacts in Commander, Mirrodin set that trend. This was a set not only focused on artifacts, but focused on incredibly powerful ones. So let's start it off here with the honorable mentions. The first one is Fabricate, just an artifact tutor for 3 mana. Not something you would want over Demonic Tutor because Demonic Tutor you don't have to reveal, but if you're playing mono blue and you have a bunch of artifacts, it's a pretty solid staple. Gilded Lotus is really good ramp, and in a lot of ways it could be the best mana rock you have in your whole deck. The problem is it is 5 mana, which means you're probably not going to include it in any kind of competitive deck. You want your mana to be as fast as possible. I really love it though. I think it kind of goes to show the power of the set that a card like this is in the honorable mentions. And there's also Mind's Eye, which is a spectacular card, kind of underrated, but if you're playing mono red or mono white, you typically have pretty bad card draw, so a colorless way to get more cards into your hand is a pretty good thing. Now let's start it off here with number 10, a card you probably see everywhere, but first arrived in Mirrodin, Solemn Simulacrum. Sad robot, whatever you want to call him, a pretty basic creature that people can sometimes take for granted because it doesn't really do anything that crazy. There's also Wood Elves if you want to get that land drop, but Solemn Simulacrum has a death trigger that lets you draw a card, so you're willing to pay a little bit extra mana just to get more value, which means that Solemn Simulacrum is not just there for the ETB, but it's also there to die. It's also there for artifact synergies, because artifact decks love Solemn Simulacrum. It's why they tend to be among the most powerful decks in the format. Just a strategy that can synergize with a card just for simply being an artifact is so powerful. Number 9 is Sculpting Steel. While creature clones are pretty common, you don't see as many clones for artifacts, and remember this was long before Phyrexian Metamorph, so you didn't really have that kind of versatility. Still a spectacular artifact clone for artifact decks. You see combos with Sharuum the Hegemon, but even if you're just going for copying something like a Gilded Lotus, it is definitely worth that 3 mana. One of the many strengths of artifacts is their flexibility, so you don't just have to put it in an artifact themed deck. It could be an equipment deck, or you could just play it to take advantage of your opponent's artifacts. Any reason why you would love clone for creatures, Sculpting Steel is even better because you don't have that many ways of copying your opponent's artifacts. And in my own opinion, I think artifacts tend to be more powerful than creatures. Number 8 is Oblivion Stone. I haven't seen this card as much in Commander like I did back in 2012, 2013, around when it was promoted at the start as a format, but it's still a very powerful colorless board wipe. You just put more mana into it than you would something like Nevinyrral's Disc, and the payoff here is that you can be selective. You don't have to use it right away. You can just put fate counters on your permanents to save them, so then when you activate it, you destroy all other non-land permanents without fate counters. So it's a bit more selective. If you can wait, you probably should, but if you absolutely need a board wipe, it is a bit more expensive, but a little bit more effective than Nevinyrral's Disc, because you get to hit all non-land permanents. Number 7 is Mesmeric Orb. One of the most disgusting cards from this whole set. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller puts the top card of their library into the graveyard. For just 2 mana, this artifact sits on the field and punishes opponents even in Commander, where the deck size is well above 60 or 40. Could you imagine having to play with this in Limited? Holy crap. It sees play in mill decks all over the place. My personal favorite being the Mimeoplasm. Since everybody's graveyard's likely going to be filling up, you have a lot of things to choose from. Even if you're just a graveyard manipulation deck like Lazav, Dimir, Mastermind, the point of the card is to fill up the graveyards, because the graveyard is likely going to be your resource if you're playing one of those decks. The strength here is that it is a flexible, colorless 2-mana artifact. If you're looking for a way to accelerate mill, this is one of the cards I recommend the most. Number 6 is Mindslaver. I hate it. I know a lot of people hate it, but it is one of the most powerful things that you can do in a game of Magic. Taking control of another player's turn, you can derail whatever they're trying to do. You can use their creatures to swing in and attack another opponent so that you can thin the herd while also sabotaging that same player's turn. And because it doesn't exile itself, you are able to bring it back with things like Sharum the Hegemon or any sort of artifact retrieval and do it all over again, making it one of the most annoying cards, one of the most hated. It is, however, one of the most powerful cards from Mirrodin. And number 5 is a card that is pretty much a win con if you have the right creatures in your deck. Tooth and Nail. You're going to entwine it. I've never seen anybody not entwine it. You want to get 2 creatures from your deck and then immediately put them onto the battlefield. 2-card combos going infinite, that's sort of the thing in Commander. You'll end up winning a lot of games if you can generate infinite mana off of something like Palinchron, Deadeye Navigator, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Triskelion, Kiki Jiki, Zealous Conscripts. There are a bunch of 2-card combos that you can get that are both creatures. And Tooth and Nail has been one of the best green cards in the format for a long time. And it really says something because it's the only colored card on this list, and it's at number 5. Number 4 is Isochron Scepter, a big favorite for competitive EDH players. With the card Dramatic Reversal and a generous amount of mana rocks, it's pretty easy to generate infinite mana, while also keeping that CMC low. Because while Palinchron, Deadeye Navigator can also get you infinite mana, the CMC's way too high for those competitive EDH decks. But a big downside to that is that it's really just powerful in those combo decks. I don't really like using Isochron Scepter for just any 2-mana instant. You could put Counterspell on it, and having a reusable counterspell is pretty good, but you really lose a lot if you're not going for the combos. So whatever play it does see in Commander, it's most likely going to be on the competitive side. Still a pretty good card though. Number 3 is Chrome Mox. Cards like these take your deck to the next level. Fast mana is everything. The quicker you can do something, the better your chance of winning the game. It's that simple. The less mana you have to invest to get your turn going, the better off you're going to be. Chrome Mox requires you to exile a non-land card from your hand, and it taps for that card's same color. While it may not be the most flexible tapping for any color you need, a 0-costed artifact that does tap for mana is pretty ridiculous, and if you need any further convincing, look at the Power 9. I believe there's at least 6 of them there. And it's not like Mox Amber where you have to have a legendary creature. This is pretty competitive. While it's not anywhere near as expensive as something like Mox Diamond, it is a rather pricey card, but pricey for a good reason. It does something really simple, but something also very much sought after. Really why artifacts are so good, just that mana production, the speed, everything about it, the flexibility. Mirrodin is just so awesome. Number 2 is Extra Planar Lens. Here was another trend that you saw even more after this set, was mana doublers. We already had Gauntlet of Might, but Extra Planar Lens just takes it to a whole nother level. Yeah, there's the condition of being a mostly one color focused deck, but that's pretty much true for every mana doubler. You look at something like Cryptghast, it's only really good in mono black, but Extra Planar Lens has a condition where it has to be the land with the same name. So if you have a snow-covered island, only snow-covered islands will tap for that extra blue, which is a really nice thing to have because Gauntlet of Power doesn't have that condition, and you could be helping out other players at the table, and you really don't want that. Which brings us to the number 1 card from Mirrodin, Lightning Greaves. Sort of like Solemn Simulacrum, you could take it for granted, but when you take another look at its competition, other equipment cards just cannot compete with Lightning Greaves in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. The 0 equip cost being probably the biggest thing about it, because Swiftfoot Boots is a close second, but that 1 mana for the equip cost is all the difference. Not even the difference in hexproof makes up for that. Lightning Greaves is the perfect equipment spell for Voltron decks that want that easy bit of of protection, not literal protection like the keyword, but that shroud making it so that your opponents especially cannot target your commander. They can't Swords to Plowshares. You can't do anything to your commander either, which is the biggest downside to shroud, but a 2-mana equipment spell where all you're really investing is that 2 mana is pretty ridiculous, and it has been for a while. Easily one of the best cards in the commander format. It sees play everywhere. If you have to ask yourself the question, is my commander important for my strategy? Lightning Greaves is there. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about Mirrodin. I love this set. It is artifact central, and it pretty much served as the blueprint for a lot of these artifact sets going forward, like the Scars of Mirrodin block, Kaladesh, an emphasis on powerful artifacts. It's really what makes Commander, having all these different permanent types, and that really starts with artifacts. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.